as we age, as we get older, our mitochondria start to wear down. People naturally feel like they're slowing down. And part of the reason is that our mitochondria is also slowing down. So my first tip for having more energy and reducing food cravings is to drink green tea. Now, green tea, as you probably have heard, is good for so many aspects of health. But when it comes to having energy, it's really about the polyphenols that are in green tea called catechins. Well, okay. Also, the caffeine that's actually in green tea gives you energy as well. All right. Caffeine, by the way, are in the leaves of the green tea. And if you want more caffeine in the green tea, get green tea. The leaves have been picked later in the season. And if you want less caffeine, get the leaves that have been picked earlier in the season of the tea season, growing season. They call it first pick ones, the little early teas leaves. They call them white tea. Later in the season, it's regular green tea leaves. And here's why: for caffeine. Turns out that the tea plant produces caffeine as a natural insecticide, right? It keeps away bugs. All right, now think about that. Early blooming, the tea is happening in the spring. Not a lot of bugs around, so you don't need very much caffeine. In fact, the white tea, spring tea, actually has almost no caffeine at all. Wait later in the summer, and there's a lot of bugs buzzing around in the summertime. The leaves are full of caffeine. All right, and if you've ever been to a place like a tea plant plantation, you'll see that they actually tend to be in hot tropical areas, all right, or tropical-like areas, and there's going to be a lot of bugs. It's growing in nature, all right, and the tea plant makes more caffeine in there, so it's stronger tea, gives you energy as well, all right. Now, I got to tell you, I drink tea in the evening. I find it relaxing, even though it's got some caffeine. Green tea just doesn't keep me up at night, all right, and I sleep just fine. And maybe that is genetic. I had a great uncle who lived in China at the base of a tea mountain. He drank at least 10 cups of tea a day, and he never had a problem sleeping at all. And he lived to, by the way, 104 years old. All right. But for me, sipping a cup of tea does give me energy, but it's also very calming. And all this benefit that you get from tea is actually from the polyphenol, the catechin called EGCG. So what does that stand for? Epigallocatechin 3 gallate. All right, epigallocatechin 3 gallate. I'm not going to ask you to say it 3 times because I could barely do it myself, but just know that people who are researchers like me, we know what's actually in it. Now, the polyphenol activates your metabolism by triggering your brown fat. Now, if you didn't know what brown fat is, you should listen to another video where I talk about brown fat, or you should read my book, Eat to Beat Your Diet. And if you haven't read it, let me show you. This is what it looks like. Eat to Beat Your Diet is not a diet book. It's an anti-diet book. It talks about how you can eat foods and drink beverages like tea that activate your metabolism naturally, so you don't have to go on a diet. Now, one of the things that tea and other foods do, got to read about the other foods in my book, they activate your brown fat. Now, your brown fat is a special kind of beneficial fat that's found in the body. It's not lumpy bumpy like the harmful white fat that's under your arm or under your chin. It's not the muffin top that you have, or it's not in your thighs or your butt. Brown fat is actually wafer thin, and it's not located close to the surface of your skin. It's actually on both sides of your neck, like close to the bone, all right? A little bit behind your breastbone, a little bit, tiny bit between your shoulder blades, and then a little bit in your belly. And this brown fat can be triggered by green tea, okay? And there's other foods as well that can trigger the brown fat. And it's also not just foods, cold temperature will also trigger it. So think about how people are talking about the benefits of the cold plunge for your metabolism. That's real. That triggers your brown fat. And when you trigger your brown fat, it fires up. What do I mean by fire up? What I mean to say is that when you trigger your brown fat, it turns on a process called thermogenesis. Now, thermogenesis is exactly what it sounds like. Thermo, heat, genesis, generating heat. So when you trigger your brown fat by drinking green tea, you're triggering the generation of heat in the brown fat. How does it do this? Well, the brown fat actually generates heat by activating something called mitochondria. A lot of people talking about mitochondria these days. Mitochondria are like little tiny nuclear batteries that are inside your cells, inside the brown fat cells. And there's a lot of them in brown fat. All right. In fact, there's so many of them that the mitochondria, which have a lot of iron in them. Okay. And what happens to iron when they oxidize? They rust, right? It turns brown. A lot of these brown oxidized mitochondria get together. It makes the entire fat brown looking. That's why brown fat is brown. So if you're ever wondering, like, why do they call that brown fat? Because a lot of mitochondria with a lot of iron, kind of like rusting, it all gets together. And these are the power packs. These are the nuclear batteries of your brown fat. And when you drink green tea or go to a cold plunge, you fire up the brown fat. It goes like, it's like in your, if you have a gas stove, what do? You turn on the thing, click, 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 whoosh, you get the flame. That's what happens when you're actually turning on thermogenesis in your brown fat by triggering the mitochondria. All right, green tea will do this. Now, when you're triggering the mitochondria, you're generating energy. Okay, where does it draw the fuel from to be able to generate this heat and this energy? It draws, the brown fat draws that energy from your stores of white fat. That's the wiggly jiggly stuff you don't want. That is the stuff, the visceral fat that's buried in a tube of your body, deep inside your belly. All right, that's the stuff that's dangerous and you don't want it. It's very inflammatory. You want to burn that stuff down, and brown fat will do it. And green tea will trigger that brown fat to turn on thermogenesis, which will then draw energy from the bad fat, and the good fat will actually burn it down. And then you'll actually have more energy, okay? That's actually one of the remarkable things about green tea that actually give you energy. Now, not only does brown fat trigger thermogenesis and give you energy, but the other thing that happens is that tea will stimulate your brain to release a neurotransmitter called norepinephrine. All right. Now, this is the chemical signal that your brain releases that will take away your hunger. All right. So you're less likely to have food cravings at the same time. So it's going to generate energy, take away your food cravings. And that is basically what green tea can actually do. Now, how much green tea should you drink? I like to be really practical, right? People always are saying they like what I talk about because I try to make it as practical as possible. Well, across the board, I mean, there are hundreds of studies involving green tea for lots of different applications. In general, most of the studies have concluded that drinking 3 to 4 cups of green tea a day hits the sweet spot. All right. So if you want the general benefits of green tea and you don't want to think about it, don't worry about the mechanism, don't worry about the polyphenols, 3 to 4 cups will do you. All right. Now, there's also an urban legend that's floating around. I want to smash it right now. And that urban legend is that drinking tea of any sort will cause dehydration. So be very careful. Don't drink tea. All right. Okay, let me just kind of take out Thor's hammer and smash that myth, because basically clinical studies have shown, and these are studies involving both coffee and tea. Coffee also has this mythology that if you drink it, you're going to dehydrate yourself. I used to believe it myself, but the clinical studies have pretty much shown that if you drink less than 10 cups of tea or coffee a day, you're not going to be dehydrated. Because don't forget, the coffee and tea is actually adding liquid into your body, right? So I think for most people, if you drink 3 to 4 cups, it's good. Don't drink more than 10 cups, all right? Well, my great uncle did drink probably 10 cups, but I don't know. He lived for a long time. So anyway, tea. The other thing it does, by the way, for helping to make you not overeat is that when you're drinking the liquid from tea, you're stretching out your stomach, right? Liquid goes into the stomach, stretches the stomach out a little bit. And these stretch receptors make you feel full. Even though you haven't eaten food, you're starting to feel full. That signals to your brain, not eat, don't eat, you're full. So your food cravings will come down as well, all right? And there's clinical evidence to support this, all right? All these benefits. In fact, there's a group of researchers at the Isfahan University of Medical Sciences. This is in Iran. And they looked at green tea. They studied 70 women who had metabolic syndrome. So they were a little overweight, they had high blood pressure, their blood glucose was high, their lipids are high. Anyway, these researchers divided them into 2 groups. One group got basically 7 ounces, just under a cup of green tea to drink 3 times a day. So that's basically 3 cups of green tea every day for 8 weeks. That's 2 months. And the other half of the group just drank lukewarm water, okay, kind of mimics a tea. And the results show that the green tea drinkers lost 2 more pounds from the tea, and they also reduced their waist circumference, right? Remember I told you about visceral fat inside the tube of your body? Well, guess what? If you've got metabolic syndrome, that fat inside the tube is pushing out. So your belt size has to be a little bit bigger. You got to unloosen your belt a little bit. Your waist size is going to be larger. Guess what? Green tea drinkers, they shrank their waist circumference by 3/4 of an inch compared to the group that just drank lukewarm water. So tea burns down that fat. All right. They also had better glucose levels. Their bad LDL cholesterol levels also went down. So a lot of other benefits, as I mentioned to you, that green tea actually has. And by the way, there was also a lowering of their blood pressure, which is another benefit of green tea. And don't forget, green tea has this calming effect. All right. Very important. If you're somebody who gets ratcheted up and you're just looking for an opportunity to stay calm, get calm, stay calm, I highly recommend green tea.
Hey, I want to share another resource with you. It's my free guide on boosting your metabolism. I'll let you in on something that most health and wellness experts don't talk about, and that's that you can actually enjoy your food while eating to improve your metabolism. And if this sounds like a paradox, I explain in this guide how science is teaching us that it's true. In my guide, I share 5 foods that activate your body's beneficial brown fat and tell you how it works to burn down the harmful body fat you want to lose. The best part? Healing your metabolism can taste great. Check out my guide on boosting your metabolism, available right now. It's free, in the caption below. Now, back to the video.
All right. Another food tip for energy and preventing food cravings. You might laugh at this, but it's eating dark chocolate. All right. Now, dark chocolate is a confection, but dark chocolate has a lot of cacao. And cacao is a plant-based seed that's roasted and fermented and crushed up, and it's got polyphenols in it, right? So the darker the chocolate, the higher the percent of cacao, and that means you got more of the plant polyphenol. That's how that basic works, all right? I like to talk about dark chocolate that's beneficial being 70 to 80% or higher. That's the amount of cacao that's actually used, so you're getting a lot of it. And what's inside the cacao? Well, a polyphenol called proanthocyanidin. Again, don't worry about memorizing these words, but the proanthocyanidins in dark chocolate, what do? Triggers brown fat, just like green tea. And what does that do? It generates energy, burns down harmful body fat. So it's good for your metabolism in all the right directions, just like green tea. But here's the thing. Eating dark chocolate can actually reduce food cravings. Now, you might think the opposite. You might say, when I eat some chocolate, I can't stop eating it. It's so delicious. But clinical studies have actually shown that even the smell of dark chocolate, like if you're somebody who wants to savor dark chocolate, don't, eat a whole bar like that. Savor it, all right? I think drinking a cup of hot coffee, black coffee with dark chocolate is a great way of doing it, or even tea, all right? But even the smell of dark chocolate, 85% cacao, as well as eating the chocolate, decreases a hormone that in the body called ghrelin. Now, ghrelin is known as a hunger hormone, so the smell of dark chocolate lowers your hunger, all right? And when your hunger is lowered, you're less likely to actually crave other foods, and you're less likely to actually overeat as well. And by the way, the proanthocyanidins, they have other very, very important health features and benefits as well. They lower inflammation, all right? And proanthocyanidins also help your body release stem cells into your bloodstream. Now, these stem cells, all right, they live in your bone marrow. They come out of your bone marrow like bees coming out of a hive, and eating dark chocolate can actually do this. And they're looking for problems where they can fix. It's kind of like sending out the highway road crew to look for potholes to patch up so that the traffic can flow more smoothly. That's what these stem cells do. They cause regenerative healing from the inside out, all right? And how do we know that's true? Well, clinical studies have shown that, having even just 2 cups of hot chocolate made with dark chocolate a day for a month can double the number of stem cells in your bloodstream for repairing it. It actually improves the resiliency of your blood vessels, so you can actually deliver blood a lot better. Now, the other thing that's really interesting is that dark chocolate triggers the release of endorphins. Now, these are feel-good hormones in your brain, and when you have the endorphins being released, it naturally reduces cravings for unhealthy, sugary foods. All right. So now the key thing about chocolate, it's true for all foods. All right, that I ever talk about in any of my books, like Eat to Beat Disease or Eat to Beat Your Diet. By the way, I've got the books right here. Eat to Beat Disease has a whole stuff on chocolate and tea, and Eat to Beat Your Diet has sections on chocolate and tea. These are foods that I actually really believe are beneficial for our health. But what my point is that when you actually are thinking about healthy foods, including or maybe especially chocolate, it's all about moderation. Don't overdo it. More isn't more. Think about dark chocolate as a condiment or a snack. All right. And by the way, if you want to actually find interesting ways to figure out how to use dark chocolate, I like to add it to some dark chocolate to tree nuts. All right. My kind of trail mix, like you've got your tree nuts, could be almonds, pecans, macadamias, pistachios, what have you. Okay. With some bits of dark chocolate. That is a great combo, all right? And by the way, the tree nuts by themselves can reduce food cravings. They also make you full, so you're less likely to overeat at your next meal. So these are all little practical tips, little practical tricks of how to actually use these foods that actually give you more energy. They ramp up your metabolism, and they help you lower burn down harmful body fat, but they also reduce cravings as well. Okay, energy tip number 3. Eat some beans, all right? Now, turns out that beans, lima beans, pinto beans, black beans, lentils, the beans, navy beans I love, beans are one of the best sources of plant-based protein and fiber. Beans provide super long-lasting energy. They help your body manage blood glucose better. So your metabolism smooths out in a healthier way. And beans contain something called soluble fiber, all right, that's good for your gut microbiome too. Now, your gut microbiome, the healthy gut bacteria, is responsible for your energy because it actually helps to streamline your metabolism, so your insulin sensitivity is better. All right, your glucose levels actually are more leveled out in order to give you more energy, more efficiency. And beans also make you feel fuller. They're satiating, so you're less likely to overeat at the next meal, but you're also less likely to reach out for a snack as well, less likely to crave for those snacks. Now, beans, lentils, black beans, navy beans, so many ways you can use them. Like I like to have them in a soup or a stew, something that is a crowd pleaser at my house. You want to make a chili out of it. These beans, then you get leftovers. All right, now it saves you time as well. Not very expensive. They're super, super affordable. So beans are great for health. They're good for your wallet. They're good for your schedule. They give you more energy. They make you crave less and overeat less. Actually, it can shrink your waistline as well. That's been studied in clinical studies I talk about in my book, Eat to Beat Your Diet. I teach a course called Eat to Beat Disease course. You want to learn more of these practical tips, feel free to check out my course and sign up for it. I think there's like 200 foods that I talk about in the course that are like this. Now, here's the thing about beans. How do you find them? Just go to any grocery store, go to the middle aisle, and you'll find whole sections that'll have different kinds of beans. Beans in a can, beans in a bag. They can be dry. They could be already hydrated. And beans, because they're so affordable and they can be kept in a can or sealed up or dried for years, like 2 to 5 years, all right? Stable, shelf stable. They're really a good thing to actually have in your pantry, wherever you store your food, your larder, all right? And the other thing I love about beans is they're quick. So especially the ones in the can that are pre-soaked, basically they're already soft. All you got to do is, if you don't have time to cook a meal, open up a can of beans, put them in a pan or a pot, add some herbs and spices, add a little bit of vegetable stock or chicken stock, and you're in business, all right? You can cook that baby up and it'll be absolutely delicious. You can doctor that up any way you want. nutritious, metabolism activating, and it's going to make enough for leftovers for sure, and then saves you time the next day. I mean, my time is really important to me. So I love the taste of beans as well. They take on the flavors of whatever you decide to put in there. All right. Intermittent fasting. Now I got to explain what the connection is between mitochondria and intermittent fasting, because you hear so much about fasting these days, and there's an important connection, biological connection, and actually practical ways that you can actually do this. So first, I need to explain to you how mitochondria actually work. When you eat food, the mitochondria inside your cells, those little tiny organelles, mini organs, the nuclear batteries in your cells, they actually convert the energy from the food that you eat and the oxygen that you breathe. So you need that energy and you need the oxygen, all right? They use that to create new energy that powers everything that you do, okay? It's like the spark plug and the fuel from the gas, like in your engine. That's how you run your car. Everything that you do relies on this process. Everything from moving around to thinking to blinking your eyes, you need your mitochondria to be able to do that work, especially if you actually have muscle activity. Even eating and digesting your food requires mitochondria, okay? And if you want to keep your heart beating, of course, that actually is the mitochondria in your heart firing all day long from the day you're born to your very last breath, all right? In fact, without mitochondria, guess what? Life would grind to a halt very, very quickly. You know how when your phone runs out of batteries, it's like, boom, off like a light? Same deal with your mitochondria. So you want to keep if you want to keep your phone charged all the time, you actually need to keep your mitochondria in good shape so you can have that energy, all right? Now, what does that have to do with aging, all right? Well, it turns out that as we age, as we get older, our mitochondria start to wear down. Now, I got to tell you, we start to age from the time we're born, right? So when you're 1 year old, you're twice as old you were when you were actually born, all right? But as we get into middle age and older, people naturally feel like they're slowing down. And part of the reason is that our mitochondria is also slowing down, all right? We have less energy, fewer mitochondria, and sometimes the mitochondria that stick around are not functioning or even like they're inactive mitochondria. You need to clear those out, all right? So when this happens to the mitochondria during the natural aging process, it impacts your energy, slows down your metabolism, and makes you feel more sluggish, all right? I got a myth I got to bust, because a lot of people think that energy is just about how much sleep that you get, all right? Not true. A lot of people think about energy is just about how many calories they're actually eating, actually about how your mitochondria are actually functioning. So this is why you want to know about mitochondria. This is why I'm making this video right now. And not only do you want to know about your mitochondria, you want to keep them as healthy as possible over the course of your life so you can optimize your health during longevity. It's called healthspan. And just being healthy, like you don't want to be just crashed out on a bed, even if you live to 100 or 150. You want to actually have enough energy to make every single year you have, no matter how many years, worth it. Okay, so what do I mean by this? Well, think about your car battery, right? Your car battery is what allows your car to start. And then once your car started, your battery is around if you need it to keep it moving smoothly. Mitochondria, kind of like a car battery, all right? But they need care in order to be able to keep doing their job. That's really, really important, so you need to actually take good care of your mitochondria. Super important. And that's where specific foods and habits actually come into play. And we're going to get into those in just a second. But first, let's go back to intermittent fasting, right? Because this is my first tip for you. One of the best ways to keep your mitochondria in good shape is to lower your caloric intake. Eat less over a course of a day. But if you want to actually really do that in a way that optimizes your metabolism as well, all right, which is good for your mitochondria and good for longevity, do it through intermittent fasting, all right? Might sound kind of counterintuitive because you're giving your body a break from constantly eating. How does that actually help you gain energy? Because doesn't eating actually give you energy? Well, it turns out that fasting helps your mitochondria work more efficiently. In other words, not eating, okay, a state of not eating, no fuel, actually makes your mitochondria work faster. The lower the number of calories you eat, the more your mitochondria actually feel like they need to be supercharged, and that whole system of mitochondria needs to be cleaned out. Now, there's a process called mitophagy, Mitophagy. You might have heard about this on social media or other people's podcasts. Mitophagy is a simple process where your body, your cells, clean out old or damaged mitochondria. Think about like spring cleaning inside your cells, but aimed at the mitochondria. That's why it's called mitophagy. Phagy means eating up, but this is spring cleaning, taking out the old in order to be able to replace them with the new, right? If you got a sock drawer that's pretty full, you got to actually take out the ones that have holes in them or that are worn out before you can actually put new ones in the drawer, right? So you want to actually do the clean out, and that's actually what mitophagy does, and that's what fasting actually does for your cells, right? And by the way, that sock drawer analogy is really, really important because we all want to feel a lot better wearing a pair of new socks rather than wearing ones with holes in them, right? So that's exactly mitophagy, all right? And intermittent fasting helps your body, your cells, clean out the old and replace it with a new. It's a refreshing part of your body's energy, those little nuclear batteries, all right? Out with the old, in with the new. Now, I write about intermittent fasting in my book, Eat to Beat Your Diet, right here. If you haven't read it, I would strongly recommend it. There's a whole section, multiple sections actually, about intermittent fasting. I give you some background. I tell you about the biology behind it. But I want to, for this video, just tell you that intermittent fasting is more than just cutting down calories. What it really is a metabolic tune-up, all right? So if you want to learn more about that, just pick up a copy of Eat to Beat Your Diet and check out my sections about intermittent fasting and all the practical tips that I actually have in my book. And if you haven't read Eat to Beat Your Diet, I'll link it in the description below this video so you can actually check it out. Now, there is another advantage to intermittent fasting that I want to tell you about. And that is that when you fast, when you're not eating, which is fasting, when you're sleeping, you're not eating. So you're sleeping, you're fasting as well. So that's why intermittent fasting is the most natural thing we do. Every night when we're going to sleep, we're actually doing intermittent fasting because you're eating dinner the night before, then you're going to eat breakfast the day. You're intermittently fasting, right? But when you are fasting, your body switches from burning glucose, which might be in your blood, okay? It switches from burning glucose for fuel to switch to burning fat for fuel, right? Now, when you're burning fat for fuel, this keeps your mitochondria fresh because it gives them a break from constantly burning down glucose. During the day, when you're eating, your mitochondria is burning down glucose. Guess what? When you're fasting at night and you're sleeping, you're giving your mitochondria a break from having to do glucose. Now they can actually they can have to burn fat as well. Now, I don't recommend doing anything to an extreme. So, when people are hearing about this, I have sometimes biohackers will say, okay, so what if I fast for 16 hours? Okay, that works. If you can maintain that schedule, that's fine. What if I fast for 20 hours and I squeeze all my eating into 4 hours? I would say that's probably an extreme. You're not going to get more mitophagy out of that. All right. I would say, intermittently fasting for 16 and 8 is probably the most I would recommend anybody to do if you can fit that in. Most people can only fit 12 hours in, and that's just fine. I can tell you in my life, pretty easy for me to fast for 12 hours. Here's how I do it. If I eat dinner at 7, I'm usually done by 8. I put my dishes in the sink, and you guys might have heard me talk about this before, and then I don't eat anything until the next day. That's it. It's my signal to myself when I put my dishes in the sink, I'm done for the day. Now, if I go to bed and I want to sleep for 8 hours, all right, I'm not going to tell you when I really sleep, but I'm going to tell you what I would ideally like to do if I'm not so busy. You go to bed at 11, let's say, and you sleep for 8 hours, you're going to get up at 7 in the morning, right? Like I'm on a holiday, that's what I might do. But if you don't eat dinner after 8 o'clock, when I put the dishes away, I got 3 hours between 8 o'clock and 11 o'clock. And then I've got 8 hours from 11 o'clock to 7 o'clock in the morning, right? 3 plus 8 hours, 3 hours plus 8 hours is 11 hours. And I get up in the morning. I'm still fasting. I'm getting up in the morning. And rather than eat breakfast right away, you know what I do? I take a break. I would go for a walk. I could read a book. I could check my emails. I can go out, just get some fresh air. You don't have to eat right away like you did when you were a kid, I take it at least an hour, sometimes more. But let's do the math now. 8 o'clock, go to bed. 3 hours to 11 to bedtime. 11 o'clock to 7 o'clock in the morning, that's another 8 hours. 3 hours plus 8 hours, 11 hours. I fasted by 7 o'clock in the morning. I just told you I don't eat for an hour after I wake up. That's 11 hours plus 1 hour. That's 12 hours. So if I do that, which is just not eating after dinner and waiting an hour after I get up before I eat anything, I've gotten 12 hours of fasting in, including my sleep time. And that 12 hours is 50% of my entire day. So 12 hours out of 24 hours in a day, I've been fasting. I've been actually giving my metabolism a break, a reset. I'm giving my mitochondria a chance to go from burning glucose to actually switching and giving them a break into burning fat. I burn down body fat. I'm also activating mitophagy, which is to clean out the old or damaged mitochondria and replacing them with the new. You get what my drift is? So this is why intermittent fasting is actually so beneficial. Really, really, really easy. It doesn't actually have to disturb your lifestyle, and you just kind of can fit it in the easiest way that it works for you. That's the key thing. You've got to actually tailor intermittent fasting for your own schedule. And by the way, listen to your body, because if you don't feel quite right, if you're fasting too long and you're not feeling, your body's actually sending you a signal, I would say maybe fast a little bit less in order to be able to actually make it fit your physiology, fit your body. All right. So more isn't always more. I would not go on to extreme levels of intermittent fasting, which is basically like full on fasting, which some people do if they actually have like serious diseases. But I think that I would try to keep it. Moderation is probably the best way to actually go. All right. Now I want to give you a practical tip if you're doing intermittent fasting. And this tip is actually to avoid a common mistake that everyone does or tends to do if they're actually trying to do intermittent fasting for the first time, which is, you're not eating for a while and you're going to be hungry because that's natural. You're just going to be hungry. You haven't been putting fuel in your body. Fuel tank's going to be running low. It's like the gas gauge in your car, but in your brain says, we got to fill up. So we're going to be looking for some food. And when we sit down to eat, you're going to be hungry. Whatever you do, remember this: do not overeat. You're going to be hungry, so you're going to want to overeat. Overeating is putting in too much fuel into your body. Now you're overloading your metabolism. You just cleaned out your metabolism, reset your metabolism the night before. Now you're overloading it. You're not making progress this way. To make progress, eat modestly. All right. In fact, I tell people that whatever your eyes want to take on the plate, take only 2/3 of it. Keep a third away. That's a good start. All right. People who want to really go down in a portion, they just only leave a third on the plate. And by the way, eat slowly. When you eat fast, it's a lot easier to clean your plate and therefore to overeat. All right. And we always want to put big, huge portions. Think about what it's like for you at a buffet table, or at a cafeteria where you get to serve yourself. Almost always going to put more food on a plate than you actually need to eat. So portion size down. And then here's another little tip that will help you prevent from overeating is eat slowly. Eat mindfully. Don't get distracted. If you're scrolling on your device and you're, reading or watching a movie, it makes it really easy for you to overeat, all right, and eat too quickly. And if you eat too quickly, you're not letting your body adjust to the volume you're food putting in. If you eat slowly, I guarantee you, even though you're taking a smaller portion on your plate, if you eat slowly and mindfully, think about the food that you're eating. I call it savoring the food. You enjoy the taste of the food. If you eat with other people, have a conversation. Don't feel like you've got to clean your plate. All right. I have friends who actually are really, really fast eaters. Not a healthy thing to do. When you eat slowly, you tend to eat less because your stomach stretches as food gets into it. All right. And those stretch receptors tell your brain, oh, you're getting full. Let's slow down a little bit. And pretty soon your brain's going to say, we're done. All right. And that's how you prevent overeating, by eating more slowly, not being distracted. All right. Eating with somebody else, a dining partner, is actually a good way to do this, because then you'll actually have conversation. But also remember to savor your food which brings me to the issue about the quality of the food. All right. First, eat food that you enjoy eating, not food that convenience to eat. Try to look for food that you enjoy. That's one of the things that I always do. I think about my next meal. What's just the right thing? What do I really feel like eating? All right. Healthy that I feel like eating, something tasty. I eat Mediterranean style, so either Mediterranean food or Asian food, either way. So mix and match the cuisines, but something in that genre is what I do, and I'm usually salivating when I think about it, and then I'll go look for that kind of food. But when I have it, I don't take too much, and I eat it slowly, and I enjoy the food, so I don't overeat. Okay, so whatever you do, don't overeat. When you overeat, you overload on calories. You set your metabolism back, and that's just what you were actually doing. Is with your metabolism going on, you are undoing some of the benefits of your intermittent fasting. The other thing is that high quality food is important, because if you have cheap ultra processed foods filled with additives, emulsifiers, artificial coloring, artificial flavoring, all right, artificial sweeteners, maybe all of those kinds of things, you know what? Those additives can not only derail your metabolism, they can also influence your mitochondria as well. And how do they do that? Well, these chemical additives can cause oxidative stress. All right, think about them as free radicals. These are basically, it's kind of like, what I want to say, like sort of like bad guys running around your system with wire cutters, and they're just like chomping away at your body and your cells. You don't want to be doing that. Those are the chemicals in ultra-processed foods that cause oxidative stress, and oxidative stress actually can damage your mitochondrial function. So you want energy, you want good mitochondria, stay away from ultra-processed foods. Don't eat too much food. Eat slowly, eat mindfully, enjoy the food that you're eating, all right? And try to extend your natural intermittent fasting period. That's one of the ways that you can actually do this. Now, people always say, all right, well, as an alternative to ultra-processed foods, what should I be eating, Dr. Lee? Listen, it's not the one thing that you should be eating. It's sort of the manner by which you navigate your food choices. I always tell people, I'm not a vegan, but I do eat mostly vegetable, plant-based meals. But if you actually try to focus on the vegetables that are going to be on your plate, that's one way to actually get high-quality food and get the vegetables from the produce section. If you don't have a fresh produce section, all right, or if money is an issue, look in the frozen section, all right, because frozen vegetables actually have all the nutrients and the bioactives that the fresh ones do, because they usually are picked fresh and flash frozen. And so the freezer section is also a good alternative if you can't actually get fresh produce. Your metabolism is going to thank you, and your mitochondria is going to thank you as well. All right. Again, mitochondria, little batteries, give you energy. This is one simple way to actually using intermittent fasting, and some of the little tips I just gave you around that in order to be able to actually get healthier mitochondria.
Hey there, it's Dr. Lee. I share a lot in my YouTube videos, but sometimes we need a deeper, more personal dive into how food can be used as medicine. And that's why I created my Eat to Beat Disease course. You'll have me as your teacher and guide to unlock the full potential of food that can be used to boost your health. My course is packed with the latest science and practical strategies. It's all designed to be easily followed and something you can start using right away. So whether you want to prevent a disease or fight a disease or just optimize your health for longevity, my course has got you covered. So if you're ready to make a positive change, click on the link below or scan the QR code on the screen right now. I can't wait to see how you're going to get started to improve your health using food. Now, back to the video.
Eat healthy fats. That's one of the best ways to protect your mitochondria and support longevity. Now, you're saying, wait a minute, you just told me to eat fats? I said eat healthy fats, because not all fats are created equal, right? Like, I'm not telling you to eat butter. I'm not telling you to eat lard. If you focus on healthy fats, the healthy fats are basically like in extra virgin olive oil, EVO, all right, or in tree nuts, walnuts, macadamia, pistachios, those kinds of pecans. Healthy nuts have healthy oils. Avocados actually also have healthy fats, monounsaturated fatty acids, MUFAs is what we call them, and also fish that contain healthy omega-3 fatty acids. So I just gave you a bunch of choices of things that you would naturally consider, healthy and probably part of your diet anyway. But if it or not, you should consider adding them. Extra virgin olive oil, tree nuts, all right, if you don't have an allergy, avocados, and seafood that contain healthy omega-3 fatty acids. Now, what are some of those seafoods? I wrote all about them in my book, Eat to Beat Your Diet. There's a whole chapter on seafoods with healthy omega-3 fatty acids. So I would go check it out there as well. This is all about providing your body with the right kind of fat, okay? And the kind of fat that helps your mitochondria function optimally, all right? So the healthy fats, like I told you, omega-3 fatty acids and seafood, some plants. Omega-3s actually have been shown to protect your mitochondria from damage because they lower inflammation, these omega-3 fatty acids, right? So if you have inflammation throughout your body, that inflammation, just like oxidative stress, can damage your mitochondria. So you want to throw a shield over the mitochondria so they're actually working better, they're not going to be damaged as much. Try some omega-3 fatty acids, right? Inflammation harms the body, inflammation harms mitochondria, so reducing inflammation is one easy step to help your mitochondria and promote energy production and cellular health, right? So again, you want to find out the seafoods that can actually do this. There's a whole chapter, chapter 8. Let me go show you where it is. I'm going to show you a picture of it. I took great pleasure in identifying all the chapters in here. Chapter 8. Hang on a second. You're going to see it in 1 second. All right. I call it the daily catch. And look, here's a whole list of seafoods that are all delicious that you can actually choose that are going to be actually good for you. Hang on a second. I'll just read some of the fish, like besides lobster and crab and shrimp and oysters and clams. But I would tell you the fish. Look, we all know that salmon is good for you, and we know sardines and mackerel and anchovies. But did you know that halibut is also good for you? It's a white, mild fish. Sea bass. Who doesn't like Mediterranean sea bass? And if you haven't had it, you should try it. And if you say you don't like it, maybe you haven't had it prepared properly. All right. Go to YouTube, type Mediterranean sea bass recipe, and click video and watch somebody cook something amazing. Like it makes my mouth water to actually watch this kind of stuff. Hake is another white, mild fish. Sea bream is another one. Turbot, another mild white fish as well. Okay. So not just the super oily fish, the tiny ones that taste fishy. You got all kinds of choices in order to get this type of healthy omega-3s. By the way, walnuts actually, from a tree nut perspective, walnuts actually are a great source of omega-3s. Well, it's a plant-based source of omega-3 fatty acids. And again, this is a kind of a healthy fuel for your body that helps to reduce inflammation. All right. Now, how do I like to use walnuts? Well, I like to eat walnuts plain. I like to toast them up a little bit. You can, how do you toast walnuts? Like I will go buy bulk walnuts at the store. All right. I like to have them out of the shell. I don't mind cracking the walnuts, but it's a little extra work. And then you've got all the little bits you got to clean up. You can go to a bulk section in a grocery store. All right. Just go to wherever they're selling bulk nuts, tree nuts. And you can just open them and fill up a container of walnut halves. Me, I'm kind of picky. I don't want to have like little walnut crumbs. I want the halves. They look like wings. All right. I'll take them home. When I'm ready to eat them, there's oil in them, healthy oils. I'll actually toast them up. You take a cast iron pan or any pan, but a cast iron pan or a stainless steel pan. Don't put any oil in it. Don't forget the walnut already has oil in it. It's its own healthy fat. Put the heat on low so the pan is actually heating, and just lightly toast the nuts. Okay, what you got to do is you got to move the pan around so nothing doesn't stick and burn. That's not what you want. And pretty soon you'll start smelling the toasted walnut smell. It smells really great. Take them off the heat, put them onto a container to cool off, and they're a little crispier and really delicious. And then if you want to break them up or crush them, you can sprinkle them onto some whole yogurt. All right. You can sprinkle them onto a salad. That's kind of what I do. Or sometimes I'm taking a trip. I would just grab some and take them on as a snack with me. All right, that's a great way, especially if you're traveling someplace and you don't want to be going into an airport and then getting tempted by all that junk food or eat, whatever the flight attendants hand you, the free food, usually ultra processed and not very healthy for you. Have your own bag of toasted walnuts, tree nuts. That's a great way to do it. And if I want to actually add a little special extra to my walnuts, how about some dried cranberries? All right, now you've kind of created a simpler trail mix, but it's really good. Toasted walnuts with dried cranberries are good. Spice it up a little bit more, add some dried blueberries. All right, that's what I actually do. It's a super great way to actually get extra healthy plant-based omega-3s as well. Just make sure if you're using dried fruit that it doesn't have added sugar to it, because you don't want to actually do that. You want to actually get all the benefits from that, the polyphenols, the dietary fiber, the healthy fats without adding extra to that system, okay? And by the way, if you're sprinkling the walnuts over a salad, guess what? It's another opportunity to add another healthy oil to the omega-3 fatty acids from the walnuts. What if you drizzled a little bit of extra virgin olive oil or dressing made with extra virgin olive oil on it? Okay, not regular olive oil, extra virgin olive oil. That's first press, contains all the polyphenols. If you put it into a measuring glass or a cup, it's got a little greenish tinge to it. Those are little tiny olive bits. They contain polyphenols like hydroxytyrosol and oleocanthal. And those are all floating in healthy fats, the monounsaturated fatty acids. All right, that's actually a great way to actually light up the healthy fats in your body. Remember, you're powering up your mitochondria. That's actually what the goal is. Not to have extra fats, but to use fat in a healthy sort of way. I'm going to give you one more tip about energy and reducing food cravings, and that is, guess what? When you are sitting down, to take a movement break during a day. What am I talking about, a movement break? Well, look, here's the thing. Most of us actually sit in front of a computer. Most of the time, it's getting harder and harder to be physically active as part of what we're doing every single day. Now, you probably do some exercise if you're working out, okay? But even if you work out, you're probably sitting long periods of time during a day, right? That basically that's sedentary behavior. We know from all the clinical studies that have gone on, sedentary behavior sets you up for chronic disease and all kinds of badness that can actually occur. So, and it also makes you feel more tired. So if you get on your feet every few hours and move around, I don't have any rules or instructions of exactly you have to move around. I call that getting up and moving around a movement break, okay? It's important because it turns out sitting for long periods of time, okay, and for working on a laptop, slows down the metabolism, all right? Makes you feel sluggish, makes you feel like you have less energy. And when you're sitting and feeling sluggish, you're more likely to actually reach for a snack. And then you're not being mindful of what you're doing. You're eating, you're staring, you're typing, or whatever you're actually doing, and you're looking for a snack to give you a little pick-me-up, all right? But it's really the lack of energy that you're feeling is from not moving around. So back to my tip, my hack. Every few hours, all right, every 2-3 hours, and you can set your phone to remind you if you need a reminder. Stop what you're doing, get up, take a short movement break, all right, even 5 minutes, not very much time. Move around to get up your energy, all right, because when you're moving, you're getting blood flow to happen to your muscles and your brain, you're delivering more oxygen and nutrients. You're going to feel more alert, for sure, all right? Movement also improves your body's insulin sensitivity, so your metabolism is working more efficiently. That's also going to give you more energy, all right? So how do you take a movement break? Whenever you know you're going to be sitting for a while, like I said, set a timer in your phone if you need to, or your smartwatch. It's going to remind you to stand up and move around. And by the way, I'm not talking about training for a marathon, okay, or going to the gym or going for a swim. Sure, that's good too, but I'm talking about more regular movement breaks when you have to sit for long periods of time, and you don't have to break into a sweat. Just even getting up and stretching, doing some jumping jacks or push-ups, or just walking around your office or your home. Go up and walking down a couple of stairs. I remember when I used to work in a lab, and when we're doing experiments, sometimes we'd have long periods of time sitting as we're doing our experiments, I would have to take a break every couple of hours, and then I would actually walk the stairs to the lab. All right, always come back feeling a little bit more energized and charged, and my brain was working a little bit better. I could focus on the research. All right. Obviously, if the weather's good and you can swing it, go outside. Take a quick walk outside. I'm talking about 5 minutes. You don't have to, you don't have to go for a trek. All right. Being in nature also lowers cortisol levels, and lowering cortisol levels also lowers your craving tendencies. All right. So you're less likely to reach for some junk food. All right. So try taking some breaks. Your body is definitely going to thank you for it. All right. So there you have it. 5 simple tips for gaining energy while reducing and fighting those unhealthy food cravings. I hope you learned something new. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you on the next video. Oh, by the way, if you like what you heard, hit subscribe. Hey, if you like that video, then you're going to love this one. Check it out.